Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. This is stop 1 on a multi-stop Mudlark, standing in a stream at a place that I've found things before. There's no guarantee that there will be anything worth finding here today, but you never know until you take a look. And there's at least one more site to visit today, where I'm fair certain there's more chance of there being things worth finding. I'm with my good friends Caroline and Phil of Let's Go With The Johnsons, who, if history is anything to go by, will have gotten their video from today out several, if not many months before I get this one out. I shall link it in the description for anyone new to my channel who hasn't seen their channel yet. And while they're off searching downstream, I shall start right here with something that has caught my eye. Well, unexpected. I'm not really very sure what this is. It looks a bit like quartzite, feels a little like it, maybe a bit like chert too, and also quite like glass. Could perhaps be a melted milk glass jar. I think that's probably the most likely in the context of where we are. This little river valley has history. It is not as consequential to world history as, say, the Thames that flows through Oxford and London, but it is notable as being home to some of the most notorious mills of the early Industrial Revolution. The appalling working conditions in the mills here led directly to reforms in child labour laws in the UK, which then led on to and made possible lots and lots of other changes, some big, some small, some good, some bad. A domino line of events and changes beginning right here. Monsters. Not one I've seen before. Very much doubt it's anything to do with a modern Monster Energy drink brand, so I guess it's quite old. Cool. Old and interesting is what I'm looking for. Currently following behind, seeing what Caroline and Phil might have missed, or seen and didn't want. Like brass bayonet light bulb fitting. Not sure it has much actual historical value, so probably destined for my forge. Just found this piece of glass, a prime example of me liking something that's broken that I wouldn't like as an intact piece. Not sure what I could do with it, but I like it and I'll take it. Has anyone else seen an arrangement like these stones beneath this bridge? I assume it's got a purpose, and this is the only bridge I know of that has it all over. I have seen similar under bridges, but only really alongside and above the usual water level, so perhaps it's to slow down floodwaters? Does anyone know? Well, it happens sometimes. You visit somewhere that you've found things before and there's pretty much nothing left to find. On the plus side, that includes plastic, so whoever has been mudlarking here has been doing a good job of it. Very well done, Amanda. So we'll move on to the next location. The start point for the second location is a beach, already well searched by mudlarkers, so I wasn't expecting to find anything. And I don't know if this thing I found really is anything. It's iron, looks like an eyelet, slightly oval shaped, and iron is really not the material that would be used in modern applications for eyelets, so this could be quite old. I can only guess at how old, and its former use. Could have been part of an old curtain, an old tent, some horse tackle, in fact anything that needed a hole to be reinforced to prevent tearing. The wonky shape suggests handmade, and that makes it vaguely interesting on a day when the finds are quite sparse, so far. Onwards, up the stream bed, up the valley. This is the first part of a dumpsite, more sort of spillage from bottle digger holes further up. I didn't think there'd be much here, but Phil wanted to look, and there are a few things here. Some bright and colourful carnival glass, light bulb, some jars, a bottleneck with a vulcanite stopper in it, broken teapot, a few more bottles and jars poking out of the undergrowth. Up there is where we want to be, but Caroline can't make it up this way. Phil is gamely trying, so when Phil's made it and had a look around, we'll climb down again and head upstream a bit to a slope rather than a vertical wall. That is more or less the way I came up here, using the branch as a climbing rope. Hope I can retain as much agility as Phil has when I'm 25 years older. I see what looks like a little lead toy. Yes, it's a horse and rider. Some of the paint remaining seems the horse might have been blue. Both the rider and the horse, of course, missing their heads. We've climbed down again, and the slope that I think Caroline can climb isn't far, and of course there's a chance of interesting things by the riverside. If you do see anything interesting, then please do shout out. I don't see exactly what the camera sees, different angles and all, so I occasionally miss things that you might spot. This is where I think Caroline can ascend, zigzagging up. They're here for a few days this visit. I'll take them somewhere much flatter next. Aluminium cable. I took a portion of it last time I was here for crafting with, but it's got something like tar in the middle, makes it horrible to handle, so I won't be taking more unless I take it only to take to a scrapyard. Part of a figurine. A basket and the hindquarters of a rabbit. I guess the basket once belonged to a child and would, on Easter morning, have held a variety of chocolates and sweets. Strange concept really, having a crockery item designed to be used on only one day of the year. But in Victorian times, Easter was a much bigger thing than it is now, more pageantry, artistry and traditions that have fallen by the wayside. Not really expecting to find anything on this first platform is the central point of the site, one of the earliest bits of digging, trampled flat by people arriving here via that slope, and by people passing from one end of the site to the other. It's the extremities where new holes are being dug, and that's where we might find things of interest without digging ourselves. That looks interesting. A little ornamental thing, vase or jug, floral paintings on panels and textured surfaces that would make it very hard to repair, if I was so inclined. Is that a marble? No, it's the handle off the top of something, a biscuit jar maybe. I think I will take it. I can imagine using it in a lamp, perhaps, or a diorama with an LED embedded inside. Ideas for what it could become are very welcome. Let's move onwards so Caroline can film in peace. I think that's likely to have been an enamelled kitchen splashback. Pretty nice colour and pattern, and certainly got patina, but no use for it springing to mind, and certainly no space to keep it as big as it is. Is that a poison bottle? It is. Amber brown, no embossed warning, but the textured stripes that would warn a hand in the dark that this was not something to drink. A little bit of glass thickness and a chip to the top lip. Might be repairable, so I think that's a maybe, and I can see some copper wire, which is a yes for me, as long as I retain my interest in melting down and casting metal. That's good thick copper wire, about half a pound of copper, 250 grams. I do really like the apothecary style bottle shape. I'm trying to be good though and not take many bottles, unless they're ones I haven't encountered before, or ones I really want. This one has some fairly nice iridescence. Still going to have to leave it though. That nice green bottle too. On my first visit here, there was another electrical insulator close to this one, apparently a very, very rare one. On my second visit, there was a spoil pile right on top of where it was. Slowly the rain will wash the spoil pile down the hill, and if a rare insulator is there, hopefully I'll recognise it, and I'll grab it for the audience member who identified it. That was the sound of Caroline putting something metal in her bag and it banging against glass. That made me smile. A little inkwell, I shall resist it, and some copper wire I shall take. We're pretty much at the end of the diggings this side of the centre point, and the only really new development I've seen here is that this switchboard is now broken. Pretty sure that it wasn't before. Gives me the opportunity to finally see what these boards are actually made of. Slate, I think. I left these before without touching the brass on them, on the off chance that somebody would take them to upcycle or restore them. That hasn't happened, so I think it's okay for me to harvest some of the wire and the brass contact things on this. Might take this smaller board as well, to use as a base weight in a model. On our way back out of the dump site now, and I'm pretty sure that this is one of the things that I put in a pile of things to take on my last video here. I built up about 6 piles, and unfortunately I missed one of them on my way back. I'm sure I can do something with this. It'll go into the box of likely lamp-related parts. I do have the very beautifully rusted engine block of an old motorbike in there too, which I still intend to one day make into a lamp. A reflector, quite possibly from a bike, would fit in with the theme quite well. No idea what this thing is. Any ideas? I'm not sure that I'm quite done for today. There's another nearby site or two that I think I will go and check out, see if either of them are good options for taking Caroline and Phil to tomorrow. This site has given me quite a lot of good finds in the past. I don't mind that it's been a bit sparse today. It's still been a nice day with good company. A brass button. It kind of feels like it has some embossed decoration under the verdigris. At least there might have been once. I don't think there will be much left if I clean it up. Oh well, and farewell to this site. We'll visit again, but probably not till next year. This site is one that I spotted just tantalising glimpses of when I was out on a walk. I don't know if there's anything there. I don't think it's going to be very big. I think if there is anything here, it's going to be a very localised dump site, the historic detritus from a nearby public drinking house. There are a few residential houses on either side, so it could be things from them too. Well, I can already tell that it's too small to sustain a visit from 2 Mudlarking YouTube channels. I think it's been dug fairly recently, and probably mostly filled in again. There's a stream coming out from under it. Might have some interesting things that have slipped down the hill into it. There's certainly vintage things here, and this might be a fun place to come with a scraping tool. Not actually digging, just moving the top layer around a bit, seeing what's just below or hidden in the surface. I was expecting it to be more beer and whiskey bottles, but perhaps that's what the person who dug all this took. Is that going to be a teaspoons bottle? Nope, plain again. Nice condition glass though, no sign so far of glass sickness. Some writing on that. The seasons, July, so I'm guessing it's one of a set of 12 plates, with some saying about what traditionally happens in that month. Brass, or maybe copper, not sure. I'll take it and find out. Another plain bottle. Oh, that looks like it's the other piece. Now glowing in full summer's heat, the sun... I should be able to read the full thing when I've cleaned them both up. Unusual. I suspect it's a heating element, but I don't know. Might take that. Should I, shouldn't I take one bottle as a souvenir from this new-to-me little dump site? I shouldn't really. Anyway, I came, I saw, I found not much that I really wanted, so onwards. It does look like the dump site has spilled down the hill a bit. I both do and do not like to see that. It usually means some metalwork will be in the stream. Copper and brass I'll be happy to find. Lead, not really. Some tin-coated copper wire. Quite a big chunky bit of it, at least 500 grams of copper. And some iron, or steel. Think I recognise it, but it's not coming easy to me. Ah, finally. Took me such a long time and it's so obvious, the gear wheels from a bike. I think it's much younger than the dump site and I was expecting it to be old. Some iron, cast iron this time. Nothing really to recognise about it, just a slab of iron. And that's a stone. This is the wheel off a mangle, so embedded it must have been in this stream for decades, maybe even a century. I can just see the river that this stream flows into, so I think I'm at the right level to walk along this hillside if I can, and come out at the middle section of the Dumpsite that's over the shoulder of this little side valley. I suspect that summertime is absolutely the wrong time to visit, but if enough of it is clear of vegetation, I will introduce Caroline and Phil to it. There is no path, not even a rabbit trail that I can see. It's very steep and I'm not going to be able to film at the same time, but if you're seeing this film, I managed it. See you on the other side. That was not easy. I'm a bit scratched and muddy, and the site is far too overgrown to bring Caroline and Phil here on this visit. I haven't yet explored uphill from this level inside the tree line. I don't think I have the energy for the full area today, but I'll wade across to the little stream and climb up there. That should tell me if it's worth exploring the upper reaches, or if the dumping was only really done halfway between the road and the river, as the concentration of finds there might suggest. Even the stream bed is overgrown with Himalayan balsams, an invasive species which does a great deal to disrupt the cohesion of the soil and increases erosion, which suggests that I might have them to thank for the metal patch that runs along the bottom of this site, and possibly even for the cod bottle I found, not too far down the stream from where I'm currently stood. Destructive though their presence is, I can't be too upset by them. I grew up alongside them, the bees love them. My grandmother loved popping their spring-loaded seed pods, and their flowers are quite nice in salad. They do make filming here impractical for probably half a year. They block out the view of the ground, and sometimes the sky, and the camera brushing against them creates something akin to the worst wind noise. Anyway, up is the plan, back towards the road, and hopefully beyond the tree line the balsams will be smaller, or absent, so that I can see the lay of the land. Oh, hello there, little glass bottle stopper. A plain one, and a good indication that we're not yet at the top of the dumping area. I had thought that maybe the plateau in the middle section might have been it. Bottle digger hole. And another. Okay. Still a fair way below the road, about 10 metres vertically and 4 horizontally, and the modern trash is outnumbering the vintage trash now. But it does look like this site started out as a chuck everything down the hillside sort of a dump site, and then maybe became a bulldozed field of trash in the middle section. There's far too much intact there to have tumbled down this very steep slope, so the older stuff might be at the top. Think when I get back up to the road I should check see if there are any walled-in gaps. That'd be the indicator of where best to look. Not a chisel, maybe a masonry pin. This looks like an old digging hole, 10 years or more I think. Nothing much in here. A bottle. Plain. Sorry, I'm a bit tangled in twigs. This looks like they dug it sideways, just skimming the top half-metre off. A marmalade jar. Very much intact, and possibly the best condition of one I've seen out in the wild. I still don't need it. There really isn't much poking out, so bottle diggers, is it worth digging these large holes high up on steep slopes if you don't find much, but what you do find is a few decades older? Or better digging the same sized hole down where the concentration of finds is higher, and most of what you find, barring late throwouts, is a bit younger, but far more varied. Doesn't look like there's anything on the surface over this way, and I think I'm about done. If I do happen to find anything worth filming on the scramble up, I'll bring you back. And here it is, the place where those kooky Victorians parked up their horse and carts and chucked everything over the edge right into the little stream. And the wall on the other side of that gap looks younger, so maybe as far as here was the drop-off point. I will check if there's other possible drop-off points, but another day. I'm very tired. A roundup time. At the end of my last video, I said something that amounted to not seeing many more impediments on the horizon to getting back to a more regular schedule of video uploads, and as soon as I'd uploaded it, I started feeling quite ill. I had a few days of fever and headaches, and a deep fatigue that lasted long weeks after the fever had abated. All COVID tests have shown up negative, but it's still a possibility, and I put my back out to going back into a stream before I was really better and slipping on some algae. And then I got back to work, constructed most of a video, and the hard drive died, wiping out the work, a lot of stored files, and temporarily my willingness to edit. To quote Robbie Burns with Anglicisation, the best laid schemes of mice and men go oft awry, and leave us nothing but grief and pain for promised joy. So I shall hope, and no longer promise, to return to a regular schedule. Back to this outing. It was the first Dumpsite I took Caroline and Phil to on that visit, and it was a bit of a bust. I'd been before and it was great. I've been since and it was pretty good again. But when the vegetation is at its most voluminous, and after a springtime of visits by other mudlarkers picking over the winter-dug holes of bottle diggers, hillside dumpsites are not going to be at their best. I've learned my lesson. This summer when people came to visit, mudlarking with kitten caboodlers this time, it was a good old-fashioned river wade with clear-bottomed buckets. That's not to say that every place I took the Johnsons to on that visit was a bust, just that first one. 2 days later I took them to a site that a great many videos have come out of now, from at least 5 other mudlarking YouTube channels that I know of. Let's go with the Johnsons, of course, Lancashire Mudlarks, Lancashire Lad 1980, DNA Mudlarking, brackets Diego, and Mudlarking with Kitten Caboodlers, and I filmed there before most of those videos, but still haven't gotten around to releasing the first of my 6 videos from there, yet. The finds from this video. This partial plate is complete enough to read the words which say, "Now glowing in full summer's heat, the sun pours down his genial rays, yet ripening crops the traveller greet, and cooling fruit his first allays." Which rhymes, and I guess it's part of a poem, not one that I could find from a basic internet search, and I'm loath to dedicate the time for a thorough internet search because I suspect it was written to go on a plate. I'm always happy to find bottle stoppers, particularly ones I haven't found before, and this Monsters one certainly falls into that category. I couldn't find anything on the brand though. It's hidden behind many pages about Monster Energy Drink, and I couldn't countenance wading through all that. If anyone happens to know about it, I'd be interested to learn. I found this doll's crockpot lid, I think, in the field of Himalayan balsams. The filming I did there was largely rubbish. I think I did very well to restrain myself regarding bottles. The single bottle that I took that day is a beautiful amber colour. It's cleaned up quite nicely. A bit of further improvement is still possible, and I think I will do a repair attempt on the lip with resin. My friend James of the channel Find and Create did a tutorial video showing how. During my convalescence I sorted my copper. and I found I have quite a bit of tin-coated copper wire, like this chunky bit. I could strip the tin off it by soaking it in sodium hydroxide, which would form sodium stannate, from which I could recover the tin by electrolysis. Never 100% of it by that method. Some of the tin would inevitably remain in the stannate solution at the end of however much processing you do. The element tin is kind of desirable. It has fallen far from its peak commodity prices in March of this year, but it's still quite expensive to buy for small-scale smelting for making bronze. Which brings me to a question: if I left it on the copper and melted it as is, roughly what percentage of the overall volume would be tin, so that I can calculate how much more tin I need to add to get bronze. The rest of the finds, basic as they are, have simpler paths to becoming part of complex craft attempts. That's the finds, and now the thanks. A big thank you to everyone who has liked, commented on, subscribed and or shared my videos. It all helps. A big thank you to the very kind people who've donated through Ko-fi. I am very grateful, and it makes a huge difference. Another sizable thank you for the kind people who noticed that I quietly enabled the super thanks function on my channel, which allows people to donate on the actual video page. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, and if you'd like to, then any show of appreciation is very much appreciated. I hope that you're all keeping safe and well, looking after yourself and loved ones as best you can. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.